There we go.
Uh,
I think we're recording. So, hi there, everybody. My name is Natasha Armstrong, and I am a Thermomix advisor and team leader. I'm based up in Cambridgeshire in a beautiful little village called Kimbolton. However, I support customers and people all around the country, the UK and Ireland. So, if you need to find me, I'm Natasha Armstrong, Thermomix Wonder Woman. So if you're watching this, I'm guessing you're on my YouTube channel, so welcome. My YouTube channel, if you've seen any of the other videos, you'll see is by no means professional. It is me cooking in my kitchen, typically doing what I'm doing now with the Zoom, where I've got one of my friends is watching, a couple of other people are waiting for me to record it so they can see it. So first of all, typically when I am cooking in my kitchen, I've got a glass of wine. So nothing there has changed. I do have my glass of wine ready. So cheers. Um, like I say, I've got a couple of people watching. So for those of you who are watching me while I'm doing this live, if you've got any questions, feel free, ask, use the chat, unmute, whatever you need to do. But that's what I'm here for. So this is one of the ways I like to support my owners. I know I've definitely got an owner watching with me today. So I know that by doing these, watching them, she's going to learn loads more new hints and tips. So you fall in love with your Thermomix even more the more you know about it. So why Thermomix? The Thermomix is one of those, I could call it an intelligent kitchen robot. It replaces probably 25 various different kitchen gadgets that you might already have, lives out on your countertop, so you're not digging through the cupboards looking for something that typically when you buy, you use it a couple of times, put it in the cupboard, and then it stays there. This Thermomix stays out on the counter. It gets used multiple times a day in my household. I have two out on my counter. We do use two all the time, but also because I deliver things like this, it is easier to have two. You do not need to have two. Lots of people endeavor and really dream about having a second one, which where becoming a Thermomix advisor comes in handy. So I got my second one because when I wanted my second one, my husband laughed at me and said, if you buy another one, I'm going to pack your bags and leave them on the doorstep, but I'm keeping Thermomix. So that inspired me to then join the company and earn a second Thermomix. So I did have two for free. I did that about 4 years ago, and now I'm a team leader and I help other people do exactly what I've done. And I love that part. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me. My email, by the way, is Natasha, Natasha, at flying, FLYING, foodie, FOODIE.co.uk. So it's Natasha at flyingfoodie.co.uk. Why flying foodie? Some people ask. Well, my day job is cabin crew. So I do my cabin crewing part time. I've been doing that for many, 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 many years. And this has always just kind of been something I've done on the side. When I joined, literally to earn my Thermomix for free, I decided I was staying because I've had so much fun doing it. Um, so Thermomix and why Thermomix, as I'm coming back to that. When we first got ours, I did say to my husband, I'm not getting rid of anything for 6 months because I don't really believe that machine's going to do everything that it says on the tin. So we set a calendar date for 6 months after we had ours and literally emptied all of the cupboards in our kitchen, put everything out on dining room tables, on counters, everything. And we got rid of enough gadgets that I ended up freeing up three whole cupboards in my kitchen. Lots of it either got sold or donated. And things like that. I do actually have a box which I'm keeping for things that my son can take off to uni when he goes next year to uni. Um, Today I'm going to be making a creamy chicken with sun-dried tomato pasta. I'm going to be making the raisin and oatmeal cookies, which I am going to add some chocolate chips to because that's how we love it. And I'm going to be making chocolate ice cream. Now, obviously, the chocolate ice cream isn't going to be finished while we're on here, and nor will the cookies. But at least you can see how easy it is to do. That's quite a varied state of things that you can use your Thermomix for. Um, so with Thermomix, what do you get with it? Lots of people say. Now, everything that you see me using comes with the Thermomix. It comes with everything except one item, which is this here, which is a blade cover. And I will talk about this first because I've got it in my hand. The blade cover sits on top of the blades. If you look inside your Thermomix bowl, those blades turn, they go in two different directions, and one side of the blade is sharp and one side of the blade is dull. So it will depend on which direction and which speed the Thermomix is working at to determine what's happening inside the bowl. But because those blades are always turning, this blade cover sits on top like that. So you use it when you're doing any slow cooking, any sous vide cooking. So if you're cooking using those vacuum sealed bags, You definitely don't want the blades to puncture the bags. The other thing that this blade cover does is it peels your vegetables. So it doesn't peel your vegetables in the traditional way that we're used to having some long peel, but it kind of uses this little rough. It's almost a bit like sandpaper. So you put some water in the bowl, put this in, put your hard vegetables in, so your potatoes and your carrots and things like that. And the machine moves them around and bounces them around. And basically it shaves the skins off and then you just get rid of that. I'm just going to stop my machines from going to sleep because I am going to be using them in a minute. And hopefully you can actually see me and the front of my screen. I always think it's great when you guys can see what the machine is telling me to do and you can understand it a little bit more. The other things that comes with this here is a splash guard when you're using high temperature cooking, caramelizing onions, browning meat, things like that. The bowl gets very, very hot. So instead of taking a lot of the time when you've got your lid on it, this bit here, this measuring cup sits in the top when you're mixing and things. When you're doing high temperature things, that just sits like that. And there are other times when you're following a recipe, it will have this here as a simmering basket, and that will sit on top. One of the tips I do give to owners is whenever it asks for this, use this. Whenever it asks for this, use this. Don't interchange them. This one is a safety feature. It's actually got these little bits here on the side, so they lock into place. So when you are cooking over high temperatures, you'll always make sure that you're safe with nothing coming out of the bowl, you know, like when you're frying things and stuff like that. You don't need to know what everything's called. It's all got pictures, which you'll see as I'm going through the guided cooking recipes. But you also get this lovely book here, the Simple Ideas book that comes with your machine. I do recommend actually taking it out of its cellophane, pouring yourself a glass of something and having a look at it. There's some interesting tips. This page here tells you what everything is, what all of the pieces are. Talked you through kind of the new way of cooking using your Thermomix. At the very back of this book, it's also got cheat sheets, grinding and milling, mincing, steaming. It replaces your 3-level steamer as well because you use, you can have some water in here or a sauce in here. You can have that inside. You can either be cooking rice, cooking some vegetables, pop the lid on. And then the other thing that you get with it is what we call our aroma dish. So that's this dish here. That also sits on the top. So again, it's using your multi-level cooking. Comes with this, which is your aroma tray, which sits on the top of that, and your lid. So when we talk about multi-level cooking, you've got all of these levels that cook all at the same time. And when you're cooking with a Thermomix, the Thermomix is one of the most energy efficient appliances that you can have. So the more you can cook using your Thermomix, the more you save. The fact that you're cooking all in one, you're not using your hob, you've not got, you know, different pots and pans out. It's also less washing up because the machine washes itself up when it's done. Chuck in some fairy liquid, and one of the functions and features is pre-clean. So I use that pre-clean quite a lot during the day. Make what I'm making, give the bowl a clean, and carry on using it. At the end of the day, whole bowl comes apart. So this base comes off by sliding that. Your blades come out, and all of this can go in the dishwasher. Even this, you do just need to be mindful that these connectors are completely dry before you put it back onto your machine. And then to put it back in, it's just the opposite. Take your blades, pop them down into that hole there, and then you take your base. And kind of hard to show you in here. It's kind of off at an angle, and it slides back in. So that all goes back together, and off you go. It also comes with this whisk. This is a tip for owners when you are using the whisk. If you're using it independently and not following one of the guided recipes, just make sure you don't go above speed 4. There is actually a little marking on the whisk itself that does say max speed 4. So that's just a tip to not go above speed 4 with that one. And I think that's pretty much everything. If I've forgotten anything else that comes with it, I'm sure I'll be using it and I can mention it to you. Where are we? I'm going to start cooking because there's a few things I want to talk to you about, but I've got some of the things that have got some cooking times, and really you guys are here to see me cook. So the first thing I'm going to do is, hopefully you can see it all. I think I was supposed to accept that. Right. With the machine, I'll very, very quickly tell you when you turn it on, the screen that you have there, that's your home screen. That's what's always there when you turn your Thermomix on. And the first dial is going to be time, and it's the enlarged one. So that's the one that's engaged, and you would turn that dial. The second one is temperature. Make sure I don't have anything in there. And the third one is speed. Now that then locks these arms in place up on the top, and that's a safety feature. When it's done, it sings to you. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is singing. And that's basically it saying, come back, I need you to do the next step. One of the great things with cooking with a Thermomix is not having to stand there and stir. You can cook distracted. It won't overcook. When it's finished the stage, it won't carry on cooking. It will wait for you to come back and move on to the next step. If you slide across that way, these are the preset functions within the Thermomix. It does get better with age. Every now and again, there are updates. Some of the updates are just a back office update. We don't see anything new. It just means that in the background, it's working more efficiently and more effectively. Every now and again, there's an update where we get a new feature and function and we get very excited. There are very few electrical appliances that you buy that do actually get better with age. The Thermomix is one of them. So it does have scales built in. The feet of your machine are your scales. So one of the things I also say to people is just make sure you never drag your machine. If you need to move it around, always make sure you've taken it from the handle at the top and then lift it from the bottom. I actually have mine on a Thermomix oak sliding board. It's got little spaces in it, so the feet sit in there nicely. And then I can just tilt it and lift it and move it around my counter without having to move anything where I'm potentially using those feet or anything like that. So you do need to protect them. They are your scales. It has a chop function. The chop function is relatively new. And I know Debbie, who's watching now, I don't know if you've even kind of played around with this because it is quite a new feature. When you heard me say in the back of this wonderful book, your cheat sheet was there, what they've realized is actually we all wanted the cheat sheet. I'm just going to put my book away. We all wanted the cheat sheet on the machine because it's much easier. So that's what that tool does. And you can see it says there are fruits and vegetables, herbs and spices, meat and poultry, chocolate and nuts and others. And you could just pick what you're doing. So if you were wanting to take some sugar, for argument's sake, granulated sugar, you can make your own caster sugar and make your own icing sugar, which is that alone is a saving. But if you just pressed on that, it would tell you how many grams you're planning on using. This is to make icing sugar, and it tells you what speed to do it at, and that's all in there for you. So that's what I call is like your cheat sheet for the chop function. The dough function, that's used exactly what you would think it is. You use it to knead your dough. So I make way more homemade bread using the Thermomix than I ever did with my bread maker. Yes, I do need to put that in the oven. But I've made more challenging breads. I've done bagels and I've done crumpets and I've done baguettes, loads of different kinds of loaves. I've done olive breads and sun-dried tomato breads and Irish soda bread, you name it. There's loads that you can do. And I do make lots more of it using Thermomix because it's so easy to follow those step-by-step guides through our recipe platform, CookieDo. CookieDo is something anybody can check out. Anybody can have a look at it. You get 1 month for free just for joining and seeing what it's about. You don't have to put any credit card details in, so you aren't going to forget that you've subscribed. It's www.cookido.co.uk. Can register for it, and it's a brilliant platform that we use for all of our recipes. It's actually the largest online recipe platform in the world. Various different languages. You can use filters in lots of different ways, and time permitting, I'll try and share my screen and show you a little bit about CookieDo. When you get a Thermomix, you get 6 months of CookieDo for free, and thereafter CookieDo is £40 a year. And again, CookieDo grows and grows. I think there's in all of the various languages, we're up at about 90,000 recipes. And I got my first Thermomix 8 years ago. I think there were 40,000. So definitely grows. We do collaborations with chefs. We also have our in-house recipe development team. And that's the same for all of the countries. So Australia's got a massive following. So they have a great CookieDo recipe team there too. Same with States and Canada, Singapore, Malaysia, and areas like that. There's some great recipes. Then you've got turbo mode. I'm not going to go into all of them because once someone has a Thermomix and we've done a demonstration, I like to offer an owner's masterclass, and I kind of cover a lot more of the machine there. I've also got an owner's WhatsApp group and an amazing Facebook group, which is Natasha's Thermomix Wonder Woman, or Thermomix Wonder Woman, Natasha Armstrong. I never remember which way around it is. But it is a public group. So if anybody wants to join that and have a look, come and see. You'll see what other people are making and other owners are making. I'm very, very lucky that it isn't always me that posts in there. Lots of other people do. Pre-clean, you heard me talk about that. That's one of my favorite features. So it analyzes what you've done and what's in the bowl. So you can do a short one if you've just done a smoothie in the morning, dough, universal, fat caramel, browning, and things like that. The browning function is the only one where I don't put fairy liquid in. All the other ones I put fairy liquid in, and then just water up to cover the top of that blade there, and then set it off. And it analyzes how dirty it is, what it needs to do, how long it needs to do it for, and then just give it a rinse, throw that water away, and most of the time it's ready to go. Sometimes it'll need a deeper clean, and like I say, I always take it apart at nighttime, pop it in the dishwasher because I want to get underneath the seals and give it a good clean.
Natasha,
so, yes,
why don't you put fairy liquid in on the browning setting?
On browning setting, you would always put you'd always use vinegar. And the reason, there's actually a box that comes up, and the reason that you do it is if you put fairy liquid, this is what I've been told, luckily it hasn't happened to me, if you put fairy liquid on the browning phase, sometimes the way that it heats and the amount of movement and agitation with the water, the bubbles can bubble over. So they put vinegar in that one, and it doesn't, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't magically take anything that's burnt on the bottom and lift everything. But what I find is I then pour that away, take the blades out, and I can use a scouring pad or a kind of harder cleaning brush, and then it lifts it quite easily. So yeah, that's the reason that you don't use fairy liquid and you use vinegar on that mode. I hope that helped and answered that question for you. Yeah.
Also as well, sorry.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a tip, actually, because it's happened to me this week, is that I haven't got one of those sliding things.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to get, but yeah. So I actually where I've put my Thermomix now, I was weighing some stuff out the other day and I thought, this doesn't seem right, the scales don't seem right, and then all of a sudden I realized, and basically I'd got the wire was actually touching the Thermomix, so it was like adding on. Yeah,
you need to be mindful, absolutely, that you've not got anything. The scales are very accurate, so if you do have anything touching the scale, touching the machine, it does affect it. And also it's always worth every now and again taking your just a soft cloth and just wiping underneath the feet and wiping underneath where the feet sit on the counter, because even sometimes just granules of salt or granules of sugar or crumbs, let's face it, all counters get crumbs on them, and even sometimes when those stick to the feet, it can cause your scales to be off a little bit. So I do kind of say to people, it's worth just giving a nice gentle little clean of the feet now and again, and that helps it. What other functions? The blend function does what it says in the tin. It's your blender. Egg boiler mode, that's the only mode that the blades don't turn, so you don't need the blade cover. Pop your eggs in, pop the water in, and you can pick how you want your eggs, whether you want them soft, medium, hard boiled. They do make a really good dippy egg. Has a kettle function, so you can replace the kettle. I've got customers that live on boats, and I've got customers that take it when they go caravanning and camping, so it's one last piece of equipment they need to take with them. Do just make sure if you're using the kettle mode that you always do the kettle mode just with water. And then you've got warm up function, so it will reheat food, soups, stews, curries, things that have a liquid content. It's really good to reheat them. I always use the whisk because it gives it a good, it only goes up to speed 2, so if that bowl is full, it doesn't have the draw to heat the stuff at the top. But if you use this, it's perfect, and it just heats everything evenly. It's really good for baby food as well, because you don't have hot spots and cold spots that you do sometimes with the microwave. So that's another top tip. Thicken mode is for your sauces, your gravies, your béarnaise, your hollandaise, your custards, creme patisseries, all of those kinds of things. Sauces that typically split, ones that you have to stand and stir. 90% of Michelin star chefs have all got Thermomixes in their kitchen. And actually, in fact, lots of the pubs and restaurants and gastropubs around me have got them. And I was having a chat with one of the local ones, and just to see what he likes about it. And he says he does his creme pat in them. He changes the recipe a little bit and sometimes flavors it with either rosemary or various other things. And he said any one of my chefs can make a creme pat, but I'm not paying my chefs to stand there and have to stir. He said it's my recipe. It's always going to be consistent. So he would rather have his chef doing other things. I've got other chefs that use it because they say that the purees that come out of the Thermomix are out of this world and second to none. There's another one near me, and they actually do lots of their ice creams and sorbets in there. So I found that quite interesting. It can be a rice cooker. You can use the fermentation mode to make your own yogurts. You can use it as a slow cooker. You could use it as a sous vide machine, and it peels your vegetables. The last two there on the bottom are grating and chopping, or grating and slicing. What is it? Grating and slicing. There is an attachment that came out in January, which is amazing to either thin or thick sliced vegetables, or grate, like proper grating, thin or thick grate. It did sell out in 3 days, and hasn't come back in stock yet. So we're hoping it's going to be back in June. Our fingers are crossed. Again, if you slide back that way, you have a whole other menu. So this is Cookie Dough. I typically use Cookie Dough on my phone, on my iPad. Sometimes I'll do it on the computer. I don't often search for anything on here unless I'm looking for a specific recipe. But I'm going to get on with it and show you this last menu here, which is where I have programmed from my Cookie Dough app what I'm making today. So if I go into my week, it will come up. And the first thing I'm going to start with is the creamy chicken and sun-dried tomato pasta. And I just press it and hit start cooking. Now, the great thing with these recipes is you don't have to be a slave to them. You don't have to follow them to the T. If you don't want to put that much onion in, don't. If you don't want to put onion in at all, skip it. It's a couple of recipes when it comes to red peppers and things. I'm not a massive fan, so I don't use that many. Another top tip, before you ever put anything in your machine, double check your scales are 0. So I just took my lid off, which makes it minus 327. So if I started to pour things in, obviously my scales weren't 0 to start, and I then have to start doing math, which is definitely not my strong point. So I just press that care button to 0 my scales. So I've got some onion going in. I'm just using a white onion because that's the onion that I have. And I've got a little bit more than 70, which is absolutely fine. Garlic, I'm actually putting in 1 big clove and 2 small ones instead of 2. So I've got 3 going in. And press next. It asks me for a sprig of fresh flat leaf parsley leaves only. So I've got my parsley here going in. Next, a sprig of fresh basil leaves. So I've got my basil going in. And press next. And then it says 1/4 to 1/2 of fresh red chili, de-seeded if preferred. Now, I am a wuss, so I've definitely not got seeds in mine. So I'll put my chili in, and then I'm going to press next. It then asks me for 100 grams of sun-dried tomatoes. So I'm just going to find myself a spoon here and start putting in my sun-dried tomatoes. And I've probably got slightly more, but I think my jar only had a little bit left in it. And I thought rather than wasting it, they're all going in. And there we go. Let's put those in. There we go. So I've got 110 grams of them instead of 100, and that's absolutely fine. 30 grams of butter. Got some butter here. We'll put that in. Press next. I'm going to show you. There we go. That's everything I've just chucked in that bowl. And then it says to insert that measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. And again, this is where I was saying you don't need to know what they are because they've got pictures here. The lid always has to be on. It won't work if the lid's not on, and it will just tell you no lid detected, try again. Popping that measuring cup in, and I'm going to press next. So here it's programmed for 5 seconds, no temperature, and it wants me to turn it to speed 7. So I'm going to turn this dial. There's a tiny little faint green line there, which indicates to me that's where I'm turning it to, and that's speed 7.
And it will never go past that.
So there we go. 5 seconds. It's singing to me. I'm going to press next. And it's telling me to scrape down the sides of the mixing bowl with a spatula. And I'm going to show you. I showed it to you before. There you go. That was 5 seconds where it's just chopped all that up for me. So I'm just going to push everything down. Now, I always actually take my Thermomix off the base whenever it asks me to push anything down. There's no requirement to do that. There's kind of 2 camps of advisors, the ones that always do and the ones that always don't. Now, I do, because once I've pushed everything down, the very next thing I'm going to do is that, because I want to get everything off the spatula. Now, personally, for me, I don't want to do that while the Thermomix is on there because I don't want to shock the feet. But there isn't a requirement. It's just very much a personal thing. The other reason I always take it off is if that's full of onion and chili, I'm short. So if I stick my face over it on there, you get a nice face full of onion and chili, and it's a bit painful. So I always take it off, gives me a bit more room. Pop it back down. Now it's asking me to place the simmering basket. So you heard me say earlier, sometimes it wants this on top. So I'm just going to put that there and press next. And now it's programmed for 3 minutes. It's going to heat up to 100 degrees, and it just wants me to turn it to speed 1. So what that's going to do now is it's going to cook, it's going to saute everything that's in there. But that's 3 minutes where I don't have to stand over the stove and do that. This is 3 minutes where I can be putting things away. I don't know if I said it earlier, but everybody loves the Thermomix for different reasons. For me, I actually don't like the mess of cooking. I just can't bear the fact that once I've cooked it, then I've got to clean it all and put it all away, and I don't want to do that. So I like to cook and get everything put away and get everything tidied, get my table set, and my kitchen's not trashed when I sit down. So I have very little to do afterwards. So these 3 minutes now, I would be putting, my things away. I also, when I'm cooking, don't prep the way that I have. So yes, I've got all of my prep bowls and things like that, because you guys don't need to see me doing that on a kind of video recording. I would have just gone and grabbed it from the fridge and done what I needed to do with my chopping board and popped it in. But this is that time where I can put it all away. If you're having a look on the machine, you've got a button up here that says preview. If I press that, that's going to tell me what I need next. So once I've kind of got everything put away, I can then go and I would have got the chicken out. I would have started cutting up the chicken because I know that the chicken is what I'm going to need next. Then I'm going to need some cream. So I'd have got that out of the fridge. So you can actually then just get a little bit ahead. And if you just press that little green bookmark, that takes you back to where you are. So I've kind of talked about the why and the things that it replaces. I'm going to tell you about cost, because at the moment, everybody's, there is a cost of living crisis. Everyone is worried about spending money. Everybody is worried about investing in things. The Thermomix is £1,189. So it's definitely not the cheapest thing out there on the market. What I will say is it's one of the things out there on the market that genuinely does get better and that genuinely saves you money. I kind of liken it to, I say to people, I like to talk to my customers and find out how they cook and what they buy. Do they eat out? Do they do takeaways? Do they do ready meals? Speaking of ready meals, just a fun fact that here in Britain, the television programs we watch are most of our cooking programs, but yet we have the largest ready meal culture. We have 3 million ready meals a day sold in the UK, which is pretty shocking. Not only when you think about all of the additives and various different preservatives that are in all of our foods, but you then also have to think about all of that plastic and all of that packaging waste that goes with it. You have your Gustos and your Hello Freshes, and a lot of people do that too. But equally, you're also getting everything individually packaged. Now, with your Gustos and Hello Freshes, you're ordering your meals, those are arriving. You heard me talk about Cookie Doo. You can do all of that on Cookie Doo. You can menu plan everything on Cookie Doo. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, snacks, you name it. All of that can be planned on that Cookie Doo app. You can then have your groceries delivered to you from the Cookie Doo app. So we like to go to the grocery store. So we open the app at the grocery store and everything is there for us. And we just take it off as we go. It's in aisle order. But for those of you who do like to have your groceries delivered, you can even add your toilet paper, add your kitchen cleaner, add whatever you need. Everything will come in one. And I think it links currently to five grocery platforms: Tesco, Sainsbury's, Amazon Fresh, which is Morrison's, Ocado, and Waitrose. So it is pretty amazing. So when I talk about cost savings, there are different ways that you can purchase the Thermomix. You can either purchase it and pop it on a card, or you can finance them. We do financing for 12, 24, 36, or 48 months. So when I talk about cost savings, I like to get people to think about what their monthly household budget is for groceries and all of those kinds of things. And then let's work out. If you took out financing for a Thermomix for 3 years, it's roughly £35, give or take. How do we save you £35 a month? Well, you save about £1 a day just by using this instead of your oven. So right there, you've got £30 of that saved. There are so many other ways to save. And this is why you work with an advisor and kind of try and find how we can make it so that you're getting a Thermomix in your kitchen and pretty much making it cost neutral. I've got customers who have said, actually, looking at their household budget for that month, they now have a Thermomix and they have more money left over from that budget because they're not wasting. We look at what food waste there is. So many different things that I like to talk about. It's very personal for everybody. So feel free to reach out and I'd happily have a chat with you about it. So the Thermomix has been singing to me. So the next thing we're going to add into there, again, I've taken everything off. So I'm just going to make sure my scales are back at 0. And it's wanting me to add in 500 grams of skinless chicken breast cut into pieces 2 to 3 centimeters. Before I do that, I do just want to show you. There you go. That's all cooked down in there. And you can see the steam coming off it. Already smells great in my kitchen. There we go. These have turned red. These used to be green, these lights here. I don't know if you can really see them, but that's just an indication that that bowl is, that there's definitely heat and it's heating up. That in my sink. So I've got just over 500 grams of chicken in there. Some pouring cream. Let me grab that. So it needs 250, which is going to be probably most of this, isn't it? There we go. I grab my spoon back. And for people who are following like Slimming World and things like that, you can sub out the cream completely. Is it creme fraiche or I can't remember what it is. There's another one that people use instead of cream. You can absolutely do that. Some water, so 350 grams of water. Be mindful whenever you are using the scales. Your scales will count slightly slower than you pour. So I do advise, it's very easy when you're first learning to use the Thermomix to go flying over the number that you need. So as you approach it, I do always say to people to slow down because there you go. It carries on counting up. So I need 350. I've got 354 and I'm pretty happy with that. Let me just put my water down somewhere out of the way. There we go. Next, some white wine. I've got some white wine here. 80 grams of white wine are going to go in. This is the one where if I'm going to go over, it's usually on the wine. So, oh, bang on, 80 grams. So a tablespoon of chicken stock paste. Now I want to talk to you about paste, stock in general. Certainly vegetable stock. Some of the vegetable stock cubes that you can buy in the stores only have 7% vegetables in them. I now make all of my own stock paste. So this is my chicken stock paste. It lasts months in the fridge. I've got chicken stock paste, beef stock paste, and vegetable stock paste. Certainly the vegetable one, when I make it, this entire bowl, which is 2.2 liters, is full of vegetables. So I know everything that's going into my stock pastes. The salt is the preserving agent, but that is the same with stock cubes. And then I'm going to pop that lid back on. There we go. Oh, that's the clean lid. Let's put the dirty lid on. Put that simmering basket back on top. Press next. Now, if you notice on here, underneath the speed selector, that used to be an image of the blades. Now it's an image that's a green arrow. So that means that the blades are now going to be turning in an anti-clockwise direction, just against the dull side of the blade. And it's just going to gently stir that and cook it for 10 minutes. So while that's cooking away for 10 minutes, rather than filling with fluff, I thought I'm going to move over to my other machine, which has just gone to sleep. So I'll just turn it back on here. And I'm going to make a very quick batch of cookie dough. So this recipe that I'm making now, sorry, my pooch has just come to say hi. Hey, baby. I'm making a quick batch of oatmeal and raisin cookies, which I've had to hide the raisins because my dog loves raisins and they make him very, very, very sick. So I have to make sure I've got those out of his way. And we add chocolate chips to them. So one of my owners, I turned my machine off the wrong way, so it's just telling me off. So don't worry, you can just skip through all of that. One of my owners makes them, and she puts chocolate chips in this. And we'd gone to her house and tried them. Oh, these cookies are delicious. So that's what we're going to make. I'm just trying to wonder if there's anything else that I really wanted to tell you. I do want to talk to you about, I've talked to you about costs, how you can get it. Delivery of a Thermomix is super fast. It's less than a week. I meant to say 5 to 7 days. I've got some people who've had them within 3 to 4 days. You've always got, if you buy it through me, you've always got me as an advisor to help you. I would always recommend buying your Thermomix through an advisor. If you've got a friend that has a Thermomix, find out who they've used. If you don't have an advisor, again, I'd love to help you. That's what I get such joy from, is seeing and helping people get them started on their Thermomix journey. We do have referral gifts. So if anybody's watching and they refer anybody to me, every month we have different referral gifts. A referral gift this month is actually this piece of beautiful stoneware. It's this one called the Kim. Put it together, show it to you. So it's this here. It's like a really long, thin loaf tin. Oh, I've just got somebody wanting to come in and join us. So bear with me just a moment. And these are great stoneware pieces. So that's the referral gift this month. You get the stoneware Kim plus a bread knife at a value of £80, and you get it for just 26. The other thing that we offer are host gifts. So anybody who hosts a demonstration, whether it be online or in person, if you have 3 people watching, you have a choice of host gifts. So one of them is this glass flask. It's an infuser flask, so you can pop some mint in there, or you can pop some berries in there and infuse your water. The other one, I'm not going to lie, it is so sad how excited I am about a cleaning brush. I was given one of these, and I genuinely have never been as excited about a cleaning brush in my life. It is super sad, I know, but it's amazing. I use it now for everything. It's really good to get that Thermomix bowl clean, take it apart. Like once you've got those blades out, and you can really get into the corners and give it a good clean. It actually, you open, throwing it around. I always throw something when I do these demos. Open up the base there. You can pop your fairy liquid in. It's got a little button that you press. Even my husband was cleaning a saucepan the other day. He's done a big stir fry. He actually made the teriyaki sauce using Thermomix, which was really delicious. But he made the stir fry and had the wok, and he was using this, and even he just turned around and went, "Where did this come from? It's brilliant." So it is sad that I am not excited about a brush. But if you host a Thermomix demonstration this month, this is the gift that you get, is one of those. So I've kind of covered those. Shirley, I know you've just joined us. Hello, I hope you're well.
Hello.
I am recording these because I am going to try and start to get the courage to put this up on my YouTube channel for people to watch. If you've got any questions while we go, please feel free to ask. It's lovely that you've come to join us. I am currently in machine 1 making creamy chicken with sun-dried tomato pasta. So while that's cooking, I am about to whip up a batch of cookies. So I'm going to do a very quick oatmeal raisin cookie, and I'm going to add some chocolate chips to that. Just make sure you guys can see it. And I'm going to press start cooking. It does say to preheat the oven. So if you excuse me while I just pop over here and turn my oven on. There we go. I've already got my baking tray. I actually use a silicone mat on top of mine, so that's all ready to go. So some unsalted butter, which I've got here. 100 grams of unsalted butter diced. Pop my butter in. A little bit more, that's fine. Some caster sugar, so 85 grams of, I just move my ingredients a little bit closer for me. There we go. I should have 85 grams of caster sugar here. Now, you heard me earlier talking about your sugars. So a bag of granulated sugar, certainly kind of during the whole lockdown, you can put the rest of that in a little bit more. During the lockdown phase was about 65p. I think they've gone up to about 85p now. But a bag of caster sugar and icing sugar, you add a pound to each of those. I've got my IKEA jars and I make my own. So I go to Costco, buy a big thing of sugar, and I make my own sugars. So that's one of my cost savings. You can even make brown sugar. It's just added with molasses. And there's some recipes in here to make your own brown sugar. So I'm not going to lie, I've done it once. Now I just buy it because it's easier. So 100 grams of, there we go, brown sugar. And I need an egg in there. So I'm just going to crack an egg and put my egg in. So I usually crack an egg into a dish and then put it in. Again, just because I don't like cracking it on the side. So I've got my egg going in. And the same. Next, 2 teaspoons of vanilla sugar, homemade, or a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now I make my own vanilla sugar whenever I've got a vanilla pod where I've used the seeds. I keep the pods. And then there's a recipe for vanilla sugar. It's just you put the pod in here with some icing sugar and let it sit for a couple of days. Then you put it into your machine and grind it all down. And you have this wonderful vanilla sugar. So I'm just going to put in a couple of teaspoons of vanilla sugar. Press next. And then I'm going to pop the, not that, didn't I put the lid on? Move that so you can see. Find my measuring cup. Put that in. And for 2 minutes, it's going to go up to speed 3 and just mix that. So when you heard me say earlier about all of the things that Thermomix replaces, that kind of double beater thing that you have, even KitchenAids, I'm really sad to say I've got lots of my owners who have now sold their KitchenAids because they just don't use them because Thermomix does it all for them. What else did I want to talk about? I've done post referral gift. How you can have a Thermomix. You can either join me and become an advisor on them for free. You can purchase them outright. You can finance them. The offer that we have this month is actually with any sale of a Thermomix, you get the extended warranty for free. Thermomix typically comes with a 2-year warranty. A further 3-year warranty, which would be 5 years in total, is usually £149. But this month, so or May 2023, in case anybody is watching this on YouTube, further down the line, the offer this month is free extended warranty. So that's really good for your peace of mind, especially if you are financing it. You know that you've got loads of cover there on the next. I'm a massive advocate of having more than one bowl. As you can see, I've got a couple of Thermomixes and I've got multiple bowls. You can go from one recipe to another. You don't have to worry about cleaning and drying it, or if you're going from sweet to savory, savory to sweet. Second bowl is £169. If you don't buy that at the point that you buy the Thermomix, that's absolutely fine. I would say probably 90% of my customers, if they didn't buy it at the time, have come back. Lots of people realize the benefits of having more than one bowl. The other thing that you get with your Thermomix is spatula, and I know I didn't talk about the spatula. It's got a couple of really neat designs on it. One is this little hook here. So when you have got your simmering basket inside your Thermomix, if you're cooking rice or you're steaming vegetables in it and it's hot, it's really hard to get out. But where you have the pivot of the actual lid, there's a hole. So that little hook that's on your spatula goes into it so that you can lift it out, move it around. I don't even have colanders anymore in my kitchen. I use these if I want to rinse fruit, clean fruit, drain anything little. If I've got anything big that I need to drain, I use this. So I've even cleared up space in my cupboards by not having them. So that's done mixing. I've put all of my ingredients in. There you go. That's mixed it up for me for 2 minutes. I haven't had to stand there and do anything. I'm going to put my scales to 0 and I'm going to add some plain flour. So it says 140 grams of plain flour. Roughly, I think, what I've got there. Yep, 142. That's good. 180 grams of rolled oats. So I've got my rolled oats here. And again, when I'm cooking, I don't measure them all out and I don't have all of these little dishes that I then need to clean out. I just grabbed it and poured it in. There we go. There's my rolled oats. Those in. What's next? So 140 grams of raisins. So I have got less than that. I think I've got about 115 because I also then add chocolate chips to mine. I wing it, kind of just put in whatever I think looks about right. So if I tear that and put it back to 0, I've got, there we go, I've got 80 grams of raisins going in. My other machine is shouting at me, so I'm just going to tell that to stop. Actually, I'll go back very quickly. It just wants the pasta in there. There you go. That's that beautiful sauce. I don't know how well you can see that with the chicken that's in there. Smells fantastic. Sun-dried tomatoes, basil, chili, parsley. So now it just wants me to add the pasta. So I've got 250 grams of penne pasta here. -1 because I just dropped one. I'll put those in. There we go. Put the one in that I dropped. Press next. Put the lid on. Put that simmering basket back in place. And 7 minutes, it's again just going to gently stir it up at 100 degrees on a gentle reverse motion. I'm going to come back to my cookies, and I need a half a teaspoon of bicarb of soda. If I can get it open. There we go. And I've got my little measure here. There's my half a teaspoon of bicarb of soda. Press next, half a teaspoon of baking powder. So double check that was a half. Yes, it is. And then just some salt, some fine salt. I use Himalayan salt. And even this, you can grab the Himalayan salt block, use your Thermomix to grind that up. Because it's obviously cheaper if you buy it in blocks rather than ground. Anything that's got a process, if you can remove the process, you make it cheaper. So there's my salt. I'm just going to pop that lid back on there with that measuring cup. Press next. 15 seconds. I'm going to turn it to start. What it's doing now is it's almost like kneading it, the way that it's going to move it around. So I'll turn that to start kneading. So you'll see it's going to bounce around again. Functions on the Thermomix will make the Thermomix move. Typically, if you're kneading breads, it does move. Sometimes I tell people not to leave their Thermomix kneading and peeling. Definitely not peeling. It will move around. I've got mine on that base, so it does stay pretty much in place when it's on there because it's got those little gaps for the feet. But if you haven't, the machine is super smart. It's not smart enough to realize it's at the edge of your counter. I had somebody record theirs and I did think they were going to watch it launch itself off the counter. Thankfully, they moved it. So I do always say when it's kneading and when it's peeling, just stay near it. When it's like my other one that's cooking for 7 minutes, I could go in the other room. I could go and do some work in the office. You don't need to be with it. But those functions where it does kind of bounce around a little bit, I always say stay near the machine. So if I have a look at that, because I added the chocolate chip, it might mean that I just need to do that again. So I'm just going to look at that, find my spatula and just move it around and have a look. And actually, to be honest, it doesn't need anything more, just a little stir from me on here. And then when I'm off camera, I am going to follow the rest of those directions and bake up some cookies, although my son did tell me I'm not allowed to bake them all because he quite likes the cookie dough. So there we go. I'll show you that now. So that's just my cookie dough done. So where it says here, using a tablespoon, take 1 to 2 heaped tablespoons per cookie, depending on desired size. Roll them into balls, place them 5 centimeters apart on the prepared trays, and bake them one tray at a time for about 10 to 12 minutes. Now, one question I get asked a lot is fan oven versus not fan oven. When it says 180 degrees on there, I use the fan oven all the time. So what I tend to do is I'll set my timer for just a couple of minutes before that and check it. But most of the time it's pretty accurate with the fan. And then I'm going to leave them to rest for 5 minutes and then pop them onto a wire rack. And then once they're done, they'll be stored. They won't last long. So I know I don't need to worry about that. And that is that recipe done. The last recipe I just want to show you is something I've never made before. I've never actually used my Thermomix to make, oh, have I? I think I've done it once. So I've made ice cream a couple of years ago. I made lots of sorbets. They're really easy to make. It's just frozen fruit, bit of egg white, bit of lemon juice, and some sugar, and you have the most amazing sorbets. They taste like fruit ice creams, and you can mix and match. You can do berries, you can do mango and pineapple, which is really nice. There's lots of, you can do peach. Peach and blueberry is a really interesting combination. But this is an actual ice cream that I'm making, and I'm making chocolate ice cream. One of my owners up in Manchester, who's one of our best friends, my son and I had gone up there while we were on a uni visit, and he was so excited because he'd done this whole meal for us using Thermomix, and at the end we had dessert, and it was chocolate ice cream with strawberries. I kid you not, it was beautiful. So I'm really excited that I'm actually now going to finally be making some chocolate ice cream. Obviously, it's not going to be ready while we're on here because it will have to freeze until tomorrow. But at least I can show you how easy it is to make. So there's the chocolate ice cream recipe. So the first thing it wants is 100 grams of dark chocolate at 70% cocoa solids cut into pieces. So I've just got, I don't know, I think it was like a green and black thing of dark chocolate. I think I've got about 100 grams. I've probably got a bit more than that. So I'll take them out because I just don't want it to be over chocolatey. There we go. So there's 100 grams of dark chocolate. And I'm going to pop that lid in. And you're going to see, actually, let me show you, it's going to grind that chocolate down into a fine powder. There's that. I'll pop that lid on. Press next. 5 seconds, speed 8. It's going to get a little bit loud in my kitchen. I'll tell you one. Try and pop over that because that is a little bit loud. If you were to fill this bowl up with ice, put it on for 10 seconds at speed 10. Yes, it would be loud because you've got quite a lot, something hard up against those blades. There you go. It's just completely ground that down into a powder. You wouldn't have crushed ice. You would actually have snow. That's how powerful they are. They are turning at 250 kilometers an hour when they're on speed 10. So that is pretty fast. Right, I need a clean spatula. So bear with me just a second while I find something to just wipe this one with. Because of course I didn't think to have 3. I thought to have 2. That one. Give it a dry. See, it's real life when you cook in my kitchen. Nothing's ever perfect. Probably 1 o'clock as well, isn't it? I should probably have a nice sip of my wine before it gets warm. Excuse me. There we go. So it does say scrape down the side. So I'm just pushing all of that nice chocolate powder down into the bottom of that bowl. There we go. Good. And press next. So the next thing it wants is some cocoa powder. I'm just going to make sure my scales are 0. And it's asking for 50 grams of cocoa powder, which I've got here. Pop that in. Should be there or there about 50 grams. Press next. Got that one where it is. Whole milk. Now, where did my milk go? There it is. I've got some whole milk here, and it's wanting 400 grams of whole milk. So again, when I talk to you about those scales, just be mindful that they will count slower than you pour. So as you get close to where you need to be, keep an eye on it. There we go. Perfect. 400 grams of that. Then I need some cream. So I need 200 grams of cream. And it does say with a minimum fat, 30%. So I've actually got some double cream here. So I need to put in 200 grams of that, which again, I think will be most of what I've got here. There we go. 150 grams of sugar, which I've got here. I'm just using plain granulated sugar. 4 egg yolks, which I've got ready here. Got my egg yolks in. And actually it's great because I've got the egg white. And what I'm going to make tomorrow with my egg whites is the meringue. It's so easy to make meringue using Thermomix. My egg yolks are in there. Pinch of salt. Just open up my salt again. So pinch of salt. And then I'm going to pop that lid back on with the measuring cup. Press next. And for 8 minutes, we're going to heat up to 90 degrees at speed 2. And that's done. And then after that, I'm going to pour that with these Thermomix ice cream containers. So I'm going to pour that in here. That's going to go in my fridge. It says for a minimum of 10 hours. So tomorrow, when I take that back out, again, if I hit that preview button, you can see what's going to be next. Pour the mixture up to 4 centimeters high into a shallow freezable container. Cover it with cling film. I won't. I will just put that lid that's on there onto it. Allow the mixture to cool completely before freezing for at least 10 hours. Place the frozen mixture in the refrigerator. So tomorrow I'll take it out of the freezer, pop it in the fridge for 15 minutes. Then I'm going to cut it into some pieces using a sharp knife. And I'm going to put half of those pieces into my Thermomix I'm going to pop the lid on, and for 20 seconds, I'm going to insert the spatula through the hole. Now that's something I didn't talk about. I'll show you on here, actually. This is now ready. That's my pasta. Garnish pasta with extra basil leaves before serving. So that's my pasta done. So when it says to pop your spatula through that mixing bowl, while the blades are turning, that spatula can go there and you can be turning with it and help them out. The cover here on your spatula stops the actual bottom of the spatula touching these blades. So that's what it's wanting me to do while mixing for about 10 seconds. Then I'm going to put that back into an ice cream tub, and I'm going to do this exactly the same thing again with the other half. Insert the spatula, another 10 seconds, and then transfer to a bowl and serve. And that's my ice cream done. So, and I've got some nice berries. I think that was tomorrow. So I will post that and post some pictures in my Facebook group. If you're not in my Facebook group, do join Thermomix Wonder Woman by Natasha Armstrong. It is a public group, so you can join that. I think I've covered everything. Ladies who are watching, any questions?
I don't think so, no.
No.
Good.
Excellent. Do you think I covered everything?
So, yeah. Obviously, I've learned a few things, obviously, about the fairy liquid, and yeah.
Brilliant. I am going to very quickly open Cookie Dough. Just so that anybody who is watching back, let me just log into it from here and then bring you back there. And then I go, where's my share screen button? Share screen, Cookie Dough. So can you guys see Cookie Dough?
Yeah.
Excellent. And actually, this might be beneficial to you. I always think I could do a whole hour on Cookie Dough. I'm very conscious of the time. You guys have been really, really good. We've just about an hour now. So very quickly, I want to show you guys Cookie Dough. So most people, when they open Cookie Dough, open it up, and where it says search Cookie Dough, you use that little spot to search for something. I always encourage people to scroll all the way. Literally, I know I'm going quickly. I don't expect you to see it, but I just want you to see how much there is. Scroll all the way to the bottom every time you open Cookie Dough, because you've got, these are some of the latest recipes that have just dropped onto Cookie Dough, or latest collections. So we call a cookbook a collection. Obviously, we've just had the King's coronation here, so there's lots of recipes. We've got a new collection come out for that coronation. There's articles as well that tells you a little bit about it. World Cocktail Day? How did I not know there was a World Cocktail Day? Apparently there's a World Cocktail Day. I need to know about that. So some of the great cocktails that you can make using the Thermomix. There are some great cocktails. I actually make my own Kahlua. I make my own Baileys. So you can do your espresso martinis. I do actually even just the plain lemonade recipe. Great for kids. And then if you want to adult it, you can add a little bit of gin or vodka. That's always good. Margarita mix is good. The sangria mix is good. There's so much that you can do. Most cooked, I'm always fascinated to see what everyone's been making. Typically on a Monday, Yorkshire puddings are in there. Then you've got your crepes, your pancake day. Funnily enough, on the 1st of February, every recipe in Most Cooked was a cocktail. I think because everybody had been done with dry January and everybody turned on their Thermomixes and started making cocktails. I found that really interesting. So there you go. The olive bread rolls, my son makes those. They're great. Salads, if you haven't made salads, there are some great salads that you can do with Thermomix. These are some of the modes explained. I would actually spend time looking at this, even for experienced owners. It just talks you through some of the modes and various different things within Thermomix. And then here you've got articles. So you've got, this is the newest one, Sustainable Cooking. And it's, talking about having some home, those cheese crackers, you can actually make the dough, roll it, wrap it in cling film, leave it in your freezer. And then if anybody just drops in, take them out, slice them up, stick them in the oven for a few minutes, and you've got amazing crackers. Lots of pickles that you can make. I make all of my own jams now. The caramelized red onion chutney is beautiful. The bacon and cranberry jam is beautiful. There you go. Bacon and cranberry jam is there. And then tips for using up leftovers. So this is, there are like, it's like having your own little recipe magazine there. Recipe Spotlight, rhubarb is very much in,
Love that.
It's the thing at the moment, isn't it? Because that's what's in season. So lots of different, there's actually one of my owners just did a rhubarb and red lentil soup. As something different way of using up your rhubarb. So these are some of the, again, I just would recommend people spend a little bit of time. There you go, latest collections. But what I want to show you is here. Most people type in, if you're looking for a curry, you type in curry and hit search and it gives you curries. But don't type anything in there and hit search. And from this, you get a whole thing where you open up these filters here. If I go show all categories, one of the things I do the most is I'm always busy. I'm always in a rush. I'd love to say that I am that mom that plans and menu plans and knows exactly what we're eating every day for the rest of the week. I don't. A lot of the time I wing it and just, whatever I've got in around. You can go down, if you scroll down to these, you can type in ingredients. So whatever I've got, I'll type in a couple of ingredients and get some inspiration that way. But for busy people, I was coming back. My son's a big Cambridge United fan, and we'd been to a football match, and it was going to be about 5:30, 5:45 when we got in. And I was going to stop and buy a ready meal because I thought I don't have time to cook. And he was like, "No, Natasha, don't be silly. You've got all sorts of stuff. You can find something." So I said to my son, "Open Cookie Doo," because he's also got it on his phone. I told him exactly where to go. Open it up. Don't type anything in. Just hit search. Open your filters. I said, click pasta and rice dishes. So right away, if you look down here, that's bringing me 530 recipes using pasta and rice, using my criteria. My criteria is it needs to be English, and I've ticked a whole load of countries where I wanted these recipes from. I then said to him, scroll down to where it says ingredients and type in chorizo, because I've always got pasta, I've always got rice, and I've always got chorizo in my house. That's now showing me just 12 recipes. So just by using my filters, I thought, let's see what I can come up with. And then I said to him, right, I need it to be, the total time needs to be 30 minutes or less. That's giving me 5 recipes. So I said, right, click on your recipes. And within these recipes, these are the ones that came up. Over here where it says relevant, you can click on that and you have other choices. So I said to him, click on the total time shortest. I want it to be done in order of what's the fastest. And this here, pasta and tomato sauce with chorizo came up. Now, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't look pretty. I would never have made it. Oh my goodness, this recipe is delicious. It does say to use tinned mushrooms. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I had mushrooms, so I used fresh ones. It says it's for 6 people. I actually changed that because a lot of our recipes now you can actually change the serving size. Did that, and I wanted it for 4. And I carried on and made that. And I kid you not, 25 minutes later, I had dinner. The other thing I want to very quickly show you with Cookie Doo is collections. So I've taken recipes and created my own collections. I do have one, if I go created, to try. I think you ladies have probably heard me talk about that. Cookie Doo was like going down rabbit holes. You'll be looking for one thing and you'll end up all the way behind you somewhere else finding other things. So I always throw things into a to try file whenever I see something that I think looks interesting or things that I want to make. So I have, as you can see, it's a vast array of recipes that are in here. And every now and again, when I'm bored, I think, right, I'm going to pick a recipe from my to try file and I make that. If I were to take this recipe and say that I want to cook this, I'm going to add it to my week and I'm going to make it on Saturday. And if I save that, that's now saved into my machine to cook on Saturday. I could add that to my shopping list. And if I want to show you the shopping list, again, you heard me talk about this earlier. It comes up in aisle order if you are in the grocery store. My husband tends to go and says to me, can you update the list? So I would go, right, I know I've got dark brown sugar and I know I've got sugar. I've always got wine. I've always got water, long grain rice. I've had you're all laughing at me. You know me well enough. I probably don't have long grain rice. I probably need some risotto rice, so I would leave those. Let me just check what recipes are in here. Banana ice cream with salted caramel sauce. I'm not going to lie, that's delicious. The category is in there, lemonade is in there, and a risotto. So those are things that I've got on my list. So like I said, you can see, you can tick off the things that you already have. Parmesan cheese, unsalted butter. If I carry on going down to the bottom, I can add toilet paper. Add that. So everything is all together on one list. And then I can order my ingredients. And with that, those are your, if you've got Ocado, Waitrose, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Amazon Fresh. So you can swap things, change things if that's not the brand that you want. Typically toilet paper isn't matched and it'll say, there you go, item wasn't matched, but you can find it. Once you've got it as you want it, add that into your Tesco cart and then it will arrive on your doorstep. I am going to come out of that because I'm always paranoid that I'm going to order a bunch of groceries I don't actually need.
I actually go around the supermarket with cookie dough open, and as I get the ingredients, I actually untick the boxes, and obviously it takes it off my shopping list.
Yeah, that's how my husband does it. So he likes to
Yeah.
go to the grocery store. I'm sure we can get out of the house. And it's all in aisle order for him. And that's exactly what he does. He'll just tick it off in the box using that cookie dough app. We've all got it. The whole family have it.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah. Another thing, Natasha, is to probably mention is that obviously, you know, you could have a recipe from somewhere else. I won't name any names.
Absolutely.
And then you can actually convert it and make it in the Thermomix as well.
Absolutely, you're right. And I did forget that. So thank you very much. We have it's probably been available now for about a year, where we call it created recipes. So if you've got a family favorite recipe, or if you've got like exactly a recipe from a cookbook that you follow, you do need to Thermomix it. So I do say to people, kind of spend the first month following the recipe so you understand the process of the Thermomix. But you have to use a web browser to do things like that. You can't do it from the app or from the machine, and then you can create the recipe. There's an Australian recipe community. Any of those recipes, you can drag and drop them, and they're straight in there for you. But that kind of is something that, you know, once you've got a machine, I can talk to people and try and help people do that. But it's brilliant that you can now save your own recipes and do your own things on it. If there's a recipe from Cookie Dough, and I make courgette and I think it's courgette and fruit scones, and it uses courgette and apricot, but I make it with figs. Sorry, my dog is going crazy. I make it with figs. So I've adapted that recipe and saved it, so if anybody else in the family is making it, they can follow that recipe. So it's fantastic what you can do. So my ice cream, I'm at that point. I'm just going to go back to where I was. My egg yolks, my salt, it's done. It's 8 minutes. And I'm just going to pour that in here, and I'm going to leave that out to cool, and then I'm going to pop that in my freezer. But I think that is everything that I wanted to make, everything that I wanted to talk about. So there is my ice cream mixture, and I will pour that in. It smells great, actually. Done. And I will leave that, pop it in my freezer. Thank you very much for watching. If anybody does need to get in touch with me, again, my email is natasha@flyingfoodie.co.uk. I've got my Facebook group. I'm on Instagram @flyingfoodie. So feel free to follow me, ask me questions. I'm sure there's loads that I could have said that I haven't, but I tried to do it all in an hour. That was my aim. So I've not done too badly. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording. So ladies, if you want to stay on so that you can ask me questions, that's what I'll be here for.
Natasha?
Yeah.
I have an old Thermomix. Like, I got them when they first came out. I have two, one here, one in Florida. But it didn't come with cookie dough. So how do I use cookie dough with? I don't want to get a new one because it still works great.
Have you got the TM5?
I don't know what it is.
I'll have a look. Let me stop recording, and then we'll have a chat. Hang on one second.